is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
He was the golden boy of Africa, a self-made millionaire, a Forbes 30 under 30. But behind the designer suits and motivational quotes was one of the most shocking fraudsters the continent has ever seen. This is a true story of Obinwanne Okeke, aka Invictus Obi, a man who built a global empire out of inspirational talks, deception, and cybercrime. A boy from a dusty village in Nigeria rose to dine with billionaires, only to fall face first into a US prison cell. Let's start from the beginning. Born on November 9, 1987, in a modest home in Anambra State in Nigeria, Obi was the 17th child of a polygamous father. His father had 4 wives, and life was never easy for them. Unfortunately, at the age of 16 years old, Obi's father died, and this made life more difficult as he had to move from one relative to the other. He actually speaks of this moment as a turning point in his life. He wasn't going to let poverty swallow his destiny. He became a dreamer, a believer, and he started the journey of chasing his dreams. At only 16 years old, Obi would launch his first business, a printing business for cards and designing simple websites. In a BBC interview, he actually said that the first profits from this business, he used them to buy the finest bicycle in the village. At such a young age, he stood out. Some even said he had a grown man's ambition trapped in a teenager's body. Motivated by the loss of his father and an ambition to escape poverty, Obi worked hard in school and ended up going abroad for education. He later earned a bachelor degree in international relations in South Africa and proceeded to pursue a master's in counter-terrorism studies in Australia. And this did not just stop there. In Australia, he was very respected. He was acknowledged as a rising African intellectual and received the Most Outstanding Student Award in International Studies, and he even served as a student council in his institution. He was a true embodiment of resilience and ambition, and not just by the definition. Obi's hunger was not just to succeed in life. He wanted to dominate, to impress, and solidify his name as one of the greats. After his studies in Australia, Obi returned to Nigeria and immediately began constructing his image. First, it was branding. He called himself Invictus Obi. This name very significant as it was drawn from his idol's Nelson Mandela's favorite poem, Invictus, written by William Ernest Henley. Invictus actually means unconquerable, and Obi was associating his determination and ambition with that of Nelson Mandela. It is actually reported that Mandela would recite this poem to fellow prisoners to lift their spirits and keep them pushing and fighting for freedom. At around 2012-2013, Obi proceeded to found his dream company, the Invictus Group. This was meant to be a conglomerate with interest in real estate, oil and gas, telecommunication, agriculture, and renewable energy. It was headquartered in Nigeria but was positioned to have branches in South Africa and Zambia. With the first step out of the way, Obi proceeded with the second step, looking the parts. Obi built a sleek corporate look with impressive claims of changing Africa, made public appearances at panels, summits, and sometimes even self-funded investment forums. He also provided social proof by creating an online image of a young African entrepreneur giving back to his community. The polished professional image he cultivated and his charismatic charm turned heads. Investors noticed him, and the media followed him everywhere, positioning him as a young African mogul. In 2016, Forbes Africa crowned Obi as one of the 30 most promising entrepreneurs under 30. Obi's photos in well-tailored suits flooded the internet with words like visionary, trailblazer, and African future attached to his name. He delivered moving speeches on TED Talks, graced global summits, was a guest on BBC Africa, appeared on CNN, and wrote columns for Forbes magazine. But behind it all was an empty house of cards. Invictus Group was just empty offices with no real product and no deliverables. It was all a facade, a perfectly engineered illusion built to lure, impress, and ultimately defraud. Behind the scenes, from 2015 to 2019, Obi ran an intricate cybercrime ring specializing in business email compromise, and it worked in the same old format. Phishing emails are sent to the company executives or finance teams, disguised to look as vendors or senior colleagues. Then when the target clicks on the email, their credentials are harvested. Hackers then come into play, quietly watching internal communications for weeks or even months, waiting for the perfect moment to send a fraudulent invoice or a transfer request. And if successful, the money is wired to the account controlled by the criminals. So it is now in April 2018. A British company, Unitrack Holdings Limited, a Caterpillar subsidiary, stepped into the trap. Just one phishing email and one click, and Obi's team accessed Unitrack internal financial systems. They studied their communication and mimicked their invoicing patterns and began sending fake invoice requests. And the company began paying to Obi's offshore accounts in multiple transactions, leading to a transfer of over $11 million. You see, Obi was able to keep this going for a while because of his media manipulation tactics. He was not the one to flaunt wealth recklessly like other scammers do. Instead of throwing money at clubs, he threw words at conferences. Instead of flashy Instagram posts and stunts, he delivered TED-style talks. Instead of bragging about his wealth, he articulated himself to become a walking press release. And the media loved it. Forbes, BBC, CNN, Business Daily, The Guardian all hailed him as the golden son of Africa and the future of Africa. He even went ahead to launch a charity foundation offering scholarship for students studying Igbo literature, exploring more avenues through philanthropic work. Maybe in his eyes, a big business empire was not enough to cover up his tracks. Branding and a good image was the best architecture. Obi knew that the world was obsessed with success stories, and he gave the world what it wanted. Unknown to Obi, his efforts to hide his tracks were not so good after all, as he was leaving money trails that led back to him. When Unitrack Holdings Limited began investigations into its wire fraud, it uncovered tracks linked to Nigerian IP addresses. And so this got the FBI, in partnership with the Nigerian Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, along with the International Cybercrime Unit involved, beginning the process of tracking the suspicious transactions linked to Nigerian IP addresses. Invictus kept on popping in the investigations, all digital trails leading to one man, Invictus Obi. The stolen funds were funneled through fake companies, converted into crypto, and laundered via real estate in Nigeria. While investors and global audiences were busy clapping for Invictus Obi in global forums, he was busy cashing stolen wire transfers. Clearly, he had mastered the art of a double life. In August 2019, Obi had just finished attending a wedding in the US, and he was on his way to board a flight back to Nigeria via Dulles International Airport in Virginia. And right there, FBI agents pounced on him and arrested him on US soil. He was quickly arraigned to court with enormous evidence consisting of gathered emails, banking records, and witness testimonies. Obi was charged with 2 counts of wire fraud and computer intrusion. His laptop was also seized, and there lay everything that the court needed to see. Stolen login credentials for dozens of corporate executives, scripts for phishing emails, fake domains and hosted phishing sites, and communication logs with co-conspirators. With the huge amount of evidence, there was no way out for Obi. Back home in Nigeria, the EFCC froze over 280 million naira in Obi's Nigerian bank accounts. And this was just the beginning of the end, because given the amount of evidence that was presented, Obi was left no option but to plead guilty in June 2020. Now remember, Obi was very keen in building a very good public image. This actually came in handy in the court process because mountains of letters poured into the court from friends and family begging the court for leniency. The letters highlighted his charity work and all good he did for his community. Others even cited that Obi had a toddler daughter who was only 19 months old and a US citizen, and him going to prison for a long time will deprive the daughter a father figure. However, the US government pushed back hard, the prosecutor making it known that this wasn't a moment of weakness, it was a calculated operation over several years and that Obi deserved to face the law in its fullness. And so, on February 16, 2021, Obi was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. He was also ordered to forfeit $10.7 million in luxury watches, real estate, and vehicles. As of the release of this video, Obi is still serving his sentence in the Federal Correctional Institution Oakdale 2, a low-security prison in Louisiana, and he serves as a global cautionary tale that image is not always integrity. The man who once swore to be Invictus became conquered.
Out of the night that covers me, black as the pitch from pole to pole, I think whatever God there may be, for my unconquerable soul, in fell clutch of circumstance, I have not cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of fate, my head is bloody, but unbound. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, the looms but the shadow of the shade. Yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me, unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how punishment charged the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain.